Hello, Home Slices is here with Slice Adulting, coming to you with my review for the season finale of The Last O.G, Season 1, Episode 10, called Clemenza. So, before I get started, I want to let you guys know that I have been gone for a while. I've been a little bit busy over these past couple weeks. It's winding down and getting to the point where we only have 4 or 5 weeks left until we have to make the big move to Seattle. We flew up to Seattle to do some apartment hunting. We basically secured an apartment, got to see a little bit of the town and hung out, and now we're getting, down to the wire where we actually have to start packing our things up, start selling the things that we don't want to take with us. So I kind of want to do like a little moving across the country series so you guys get to see some of the things that go into doing a cross country move, all of the victories, all of the stresses, and all of that jazz. But in the meantime, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I want to thank everyone who has faithfully stayed a subscriber while I've been on a little bit of a hiatus trying to get my life together. And the last thing before I actually get into this review, if you are interested in seeing how I got my curls to pop like this in this little twist out, tomorrow I'm going to be uploading a wash day routine video for you guys. And it's going to show you all the things that I do to wash my hair, and it's going to show you how I achieve this look. As far as the curls go. But moving on, be on the lookout for that. But let's get started with this review. I will say I have never been into like the Godfather Italian mob movies. I'm trying to think of the other really popular one. It's the Godfather and it's another one. Y'all know which one I'm talking about. You can put it in the comments. But yeah, I've never really been into the mobster movies. It's too much violence, too much blood and gore and all that kind of stuff for me. And I've never really cared for it. So I will say that I was a little bit slow when it came to the references regarding The Godfather. But, I didn't lose too much of the understanding of things that were going on. So moving on, we have the Godfather scene where basically Trey is telling all of his halfway home homies that he is going to kill Wavy for ruining his life. He enlists their help. One of them is going to be Clemenza, who is going to hide a gun inside of the paper towel dispenser at Grundle's, so that he has a weapon to kill Wavy. And then another one of them is going to help him get a getaway car, and he's supposed to be Tessio. Again, don't really get the references, but if you've seen The Godfather, I'm sure you do. Now moving on, Shannon is talking to herself in the mirror. She's kind of psyching herself up because apparently Josh didn't come home that night. If y'all remember from the previous episode, Josh and Shannon were going through some things because Josh was being rather secretive about him having to sponsor someone in a Narcotics Anonymous who actually had a crush on him without Shay knowing, and then Shay blew up about it and kicked the girl's door in. So they've been having quite a few problems. So Shannon is just very distressed about it. She doesn't know how to feel. She's in the mirror, and at one point she's trying to be calm, and then next moment she's talking about she's going to kill him. We all know, if we've been through similar situations, that there's a spectrum of emotions that you go through when certain things like that happen. But moving on, we see that Bobby got Trey an untraceable gun, and Trey is willing to go back to jail and risk his freedom yet again to, get revenge regarding Wavy, right? It's not very smart, but we all see that Trey is not the smartest person when it comes to recidivism, going back to selling crack, all that kind of stuff. But moving on, Trey comes to Shannon's house, kind of to say his last goodbyes, it kind of seems like, because he knows that he will probably be back in jail for killing Wavy. And so he sees that Shannon is a wreck because Josh did not come home, and Trey vows that he would bring Josh home and he would go find him. My initial thoughts were that something had happened to Josh and maybe he was in the hospital or whatever, but unfortunately that was not the case. He was getting plastered at some bar, getting real belligerent or whatever because he had been cut off from the alcohol, because he, definitely was overserved or whatever. And so he takes his shirt off and tells the bartender to come fight him and everything. And Trey shows up, and now Josh kind of, spills the beans and is basically saying that things with Josh and Shay were wonderful and beautiful before Trey came around. And, Josh is saying, my kids are biologically yours, and, Shannon is your first love, and I don't want to be squeezed out of this situation. And I totally 100% get that. And y'all are going to get something right now that I usually do not do. Typically, I don't talk about my personal life a lot when I'm doing these reviews. I'll say stuff like I understand what that means because I've been in a similar situation, but I usually don't go into detail. But when it comes to this particular part of the show, I'm gonna give you guys like a little story time about a similar situation that I was in before. So when my boyfriend and I first started dating, there was an issue with a young lady that my boyfriend knew from like middle school, and they went to the same college, so they he kind of kept in touch or whatever. And apparently she went up to his job and tried to have lunch with him, or asked to have lunch with him when while he and I were dating. We had first just started dating probably for like a month or two. And so when my boyfriend told me that she asked him out to lunch, I feel like he kind of worded it in a way like asking me if I was okay with them going to lunch together. And I was very upset and told him absolutely freaking not. And I felt that she liked him beyond them just being friends and knowing each other for a long time, that she was actually interested in him romantically. And I basically demanded that he cut off his relationship with her and basically tell her to stay out of his life because I did not feel comfortable with her presence in his life. And while I do feel that it was a little insecure on my part, I'm a firm believer that if you are invested in a relationship and you want something to work and there's a person that's standing in the way of that, you should just cut them off and get rid of them so that you can shore up your relationship. But I understand that not everybody thinks that way, and I understand that my boyfriend was a little bit reluctant to cut her off because he knew her way before he knew me, and they had an okay friendship that had never gone romantic previously. And I think he feels as if I should have trusted him in his friendship with her to know that nothing would have happened. But the way I see it is, all it takes is for me and my boyfriend to get into one argument and for him to be upset, for her to take advantage of that and get him in a compromising position. Those are my thoughts. Now, this has all happened. My boyfriend and I have been together for like 3.5 years now. Actually, this is our 3.5 year anniversary actually today. But a couple of days ago, this whole situation got brought up again. And for the first time ever, he told me that he basically kind of, I guess, regrets cutting her off as a friend because he knows that he didn't have any feelings like that towards her. And he feels as if he kind of lost a friend because of me. And he says that he, has kind of made his peace with it or whatever, but it kind of shocked me that he had negative feelings about it, and it was things that I never really considered. Because I'll cut somebody off in a second, I'll block somebody block somebody in a second if I feel like they're gonna come between what I have with my boyfriend. But I can understand that he does not have such stark feelings about the same thing. I hope it's making sense. But the point I'm trying to make here is Josh felt like with Trey coming back, with the history that Trey has with Shay, the fact that they have children together, that Josh ran the risk of losing his family. And I can understand that. And I get where he's coming from because, this old girl popping up that he has known since middle school, bothered me because I felt like she was trying to get with my boyfriend, and because they have so much history together and have known each other for so long, I felt threatened by her presence. I'll willingly admit that now that he and I have been together for 3 years and he's moving across the country with me, so I don't really have a problem admitting that now. But moving on, I felt a little emotional when Josh said that he was scared of losing his family or whatever, but Trey apparently tracked Josh through his credit card history. He called the credit card company, tracked his purchases, and actually bought an expensive pair of Jordans using his credit card. But Josh felt like that was fair. Hold on, y'all. Okay, so moving on, Big Country shows up to Grundle's, to the coffee shop, to get the bathroom key, and he has to actually purchase something. So he purchases a drink and drops the drink into the paper towel dispenser in the bathroom where he's supposed to hide the gun. This is why you don't enlist people like that to help you out, okay? But moving on, we see Josh and Trey kind of sober up. They reveal that they're okay with each other, and they have this. There's this one thing that Trey said earlier to Josh that I thought was very sweet, is that he called Amira and Rashad our kids. And Trey understands that for the past 15 years or however long Josh has been in the picture, he has been raising Trey's kids, and he can really acknowledge that they're kind of a blended family. And as easy as it is to stay in discord when you have situations like that, it's better for them to all be on the same page for the sake of the children. So it was a sweet moment. So we see Trey saying goodbye to all his halfway homies because he knows he's going to be going back to jail. And Bobby picks him up and gives him his cousin's, Clyde's, lucky jacket. Now, Clyde is Bobby's brother, and Clyde is Trey's cousin. And so Bobby says, you know, I'm going to give you this jacket because it's going to be like Clyde has your back. So Trey goes to the bathroom looking for the planted gun, and unfortunately, it is not there. Come to find out, Wavy has cameras in the bathrooms, and he saw Big Country plant the gun there, and they have a discussion in his office. First off, it's very illegal to have cameras in bathrooms, but moving on, Wavy claims that he did not rat Trey out, even though he tried to holler at Shay. Wavy claims that Clyde set Trey up, and Clyde's goal was to get Trey to snitch on Wavy to get them both out of the way so that he would have the whole block to himself. Trey said that he believed Wavy, and now they're cool, but unfortunately, attempted murder is a valid reason to fire Trey. So, a part of me believes that Clyde would do that, because when we were introduced to Clyde's character during the last episode or last couple of episodes, he came off very hot-headed. He got them into trouble with that crazy family. He had the big gun hidden, and he had been skimming, you know, drugs off the top of all of the drugs that he was supposed to be selling for Wavy. He just came off as a person who just went a little too hard for the drug game. He didn't have as much sense as Trey had to, you know, to maybe even try to develop a skill outside of selling drugs, like cooking, for instance. But it's somewhat believable that Clyde would set his own cousin up because of what we know about Clyde. On the other hand, it's extremely, extremely convenient that Wavy blames a dead man for putting Trey in jail. And let's be honest, as much as somebody snitching is a big factor in Trey going to jail, his own decision to sell drugs is a big part of him going to jail as well. So he can't put 100% of the blame on anybody else when he knows that he sold drugs himself and nobody, you know, basically put a gun to his head and told him to do that. So apparently the halfway homie that was supposed to arrange the getaway car is actually there at the coffee shop when it's time for him to go. But unfortunately, there's no room in the car for Trey because all the other halfway homies are in the car too. But Trey tells them that, the plan fell through or whatever, and they all end up going home. So lastly, we see Josh, Shay, and the two kids having a family picnic with some fancy sandwiches with sprouts on them. And Trey comes to say hi or whatever, and they all have like a, better understanding. Josh and Shay are still together, which I love. I would hate to see their relationship break up, because Trey came in the picture. Bobby finds out, what happened, but Trey does not tell him that his brother betrayed him, which I think is a good thing. I feel like when we are betrayed, we have this need to actually go and tell everybody and tarnish the person who betrayed us reputation because we feel hurt or whatever. And Trey knows how much Bobby looked up to Clyde. So he does not want to tarnish his reputation in that type of way. And I thought that was very sweet and showed some maturity on Trey's side. And you can kind of see Trey is growing up. He was saying, I'm basically the last OG. We're a dying breed, and things are not the way that they used to be, where you kill somebody, like where you shoot first and ask questions later. And, Wavy and Trey walked away still being on relatively cool terms, as opposed to them, one of them dying or both, one going to jail or both of them ending up dead or whatever. So, basically it's about how the game has changed, and so has Trey's attitude. And so that has been it for this entire season of The Last OG. I have enjoyed reviewing it, even though I know that I have not been 100% consistent with it. It's just so many things have come up over these past few weeks. It's made it a little difficult for me, but all of the shows that I'm reviewing are officially off the air, every single one of them. So, like I said, instead of doing the TV show reviews for right now, I'm going to be letting you guys into the process of us moving across the country, getting some of these items sold and packing up and all that kind of stuff. More of a vlog type of situation. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And also don't forget to be on the lookout for my video tomorrow that I'm posting about my natural hair wash day routine. So thank you guys for watching, and peace out, home slices.